Well, when I started, I think the dominant paradigm at the time, the thought of UFOs is that these are extraterrestrials coming from other planets to visit Earth. Most people in my line of work, journalists, did not take it very seriously. They dismissed it. They made fun of it and made fun of the people who studied the issues. I knew very little about it until about 1987, and a guy named John Lear walked into our TV station. John Lear was the son of the guy who created the Lear jet. He had run for public office. He had flown for the CIA. He was an accomplished pilot, and he had helped our TV station break an important story about something that was flying out in the skies of the Nevada desert that was invisible to radar. Well, it turned out that that plane was the stealth fighter. And because he helped us break that story, he had some credibility. And he came into the TV station with a stack of documents, UFO documents, that he dropped on the desk of my boss. And he said, Ned, this is the biggest story of all time. You got to take a look at this. It's a cover up, a global cover up, and it'll be the biggest story in your career. Ned looked at the documentation for a minute and pushed it away and said, this can't be true because I would already know about it if it were true. As John is about to leave the station, I said, hey, let me take a look at that stuff. And I started going through it. He left a pile of documentation. These are documents squeezed out of the US government through the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA. And I thought, well, this is kind of interesting. I knew very little about it. I put him on a TV show that I hosted at the time, a half-hour talk show that would air in the morning that no one would ever watch. It would be city councilman, county commissioner, something like that. But I put him on and let him do his thing. And he spews out this incredible conspiracy theory about UFOs and the cover up and aliens are abducting humans. I didn't know what to make of it, but the phone started ringing. The audience was intrigued. I mean, I wouldn't get 5 calls a week normally for this program, but I was getting dozens of calls. Hey, is that guy for real? So I had him on again some months later, and the response was even bigger. And I realized that this issue touches the pulse of the public in a way that I did not understand. So I started reading about UFOs. And the first thing I thought was, this topic is a mess. It's a total mess. People are always fighting each other. Everybody attacks everybody else. There are a lot of hoaxers and people who make stuff up. There's a lot of people who are mentally unbalanced who are involved in this. Yeah. There are profiteers who make things up in order to make money. And I thought, you know what it needs is a good reporter, and give me 6 weeks, 6 months, I'll have this whole thing figured out. Well, you know, obviously I was kind of cocky back then, and I was completely mistaken, because here it is more than 35 years later, and I know a lot more, but I understand even less, because the issue is way more complicated. It isn't just aliens visiting our planet. Exactly. It's something else entirely, and it's been with humanity throughout human history. And I thought, after I'd spent some time on it, this would be the biggest story in history, period. Wow, if it turns out to be true, non-human intelligence interacting with us, it changes everything.